and let's get it started.
I'm soft as hell.
Loving the butt, Phantom Freak. Loving the butt. Really creative there. Just record a bunch of your friends and throw it on into a track. That always seems to work well. So, any feedback for Phantom Freak about the butt? Go ahead and put it in the chat on what you liked and what you think could be improved about the song. First off, love the tune. Love the second drop as well. Love all the funky little sounds you had in there. Really nice rhythm you had in the track. All the drum percussion that you had in there, rides and all that were on point. So definitely the foundation of your song was solid. And again, always the arrangement spot on. Yeah, 5 minutes, for this type of track definitely will work well. Intro and outro, it's DJ track, club track, so you definitely want to have that a little bit longer intro and outro, so definitely works well. And the US won. The US won. There we go. Let's give it up to the US soccer team. Okay. What I think could be improved. Send in your track to Daniel at SoundShockAudio.com, Pac-Man. Let's see. So yeah, what do I think could be improved? Really, the kick drum in the track I think could be improved. That was really one of the only things that I could think of could be improved. I would say maybe... Okay, I'll talk about that first. So the kick drum. Overall, your track was full. Your track was full sounding. It was impactful. Frequencies. There was no muddiness in the track. All the instruments seemed to fit in the stereo image well. They were carrying their weight in the specific parts of the frequency spectrum. But the kick drum felt weak. It felt like it was just kind of almost a little bit hollow in the low end. So you had your sub bass, which was providing the low end. You could hear the kick, but it wasn't providing that big weight and just pounding sound that you want to feel with the kick drum, specifically for a club track. Like I said, the sub was there and it was present and it was providing low end weight, but that main rhythm in electronic music, the main rhythm comes from the kick drum. The kick drum is the all-important element in your track. It is the filet mignon for your track, the kick. And it just was not coming through. A more impactful kick is definitely what is needed. I think, let's see. I would say have your kick drum provide the sub bass for this track. You have, all the other elements in your track are very quick. You have kind of a percussive bass line, with long bass. This is how I kind of gauge how I'm going to keep my kick, as far as, or what kick I'm going to use. If I have a long bass line, I'm going to have a short kick. If I have a short bass line, I'm going to have a longer kick. A longer kick as far as like the release goes, so a boom rather than a boom. That's what I mean by longer. And having the sub bass in that kick could work out better just for the overall power of this song. I think that's really where it could be improved here. That's just from what I was hearing. Like I said, it was pretty full frequencied, but I just wanted to hear more power. It needed more of that rhythm, and that just the kick drum was missing from that. What else here? Again, it's also, when you go from section to section, there's not that much of an energy change in the track from like the breakdown, the verse, into the drop. Now, I know it's a more minimal style, drop. It's not some crazy dubstep drop, where you're going from a breakdown from like a pad to, crazy bass line and slamming drums. But still, there should be more of an energy shift, in my opinion. Few things you can do to change that right off the bat without really manipulating anything on a track-by-track basis, really just on the master channel. I'll go on and bring up a tutorial. You may have seen it already. Some really small things that you could do to increase the perceived perception of a bigger drop in your track. I wouldn't necessarily say it's gain staging. I think part of it is the limiting you're doing and the compressing, the amount of compressing and limiting you're doing. That's usually what, it shrinks to the dynamic range. The dynamic range being the difference between the loudest parts of your mix and the quietest parts in your mix. And that difference is not as, it's smush. It's very small. There's a very small difference. And again, limiters and compressors reduce that dynamic range. So I think having a little bit more could be better. But besides limiting and compression, using those 4 tips in that tutorial could help. So I definitely recommend trying those and see if that helps a little bit. And then maybe try reducing some of the limiting and compressing a little bit. Another thing that you could do, I believe this is one of the tips. I haven't checked out the tutorial in a while, so I think I forgot some of the tips in there. But you could limit and compress the different sections of your track differently according to the energy levels that you want to give and the dynamic range that you want to give. So that could be something that you could experiment with as well in your master channel or in your pre-master. Again, messing with the amount of compression and limiting that you have in specific sections of your track to create different dynamic ranges to have the listener give the listener a different perspective on the track, energy-wise. Again, try that out. Try that out. Yeah, killer job on the tune as always, man. Loving it. And that was really cool with all the recorded vocals that you have, the recorded stuff you have of your friends. That turned out really well. Let's see. And again, guys, we're giving away the orchestral companion, the brass virtual instrument for Mac and PC. 47 concurrent viewers in this live stream, and we'll be giving away this plugin. So invite your friends, let them know the awesome feedback that they can receive and the awesome plugin that they can receive. $59 value, yours for free once we hit 47 concurrent viewers. Invite them on in here, guys. All right, next up, we have Blue Eyes. Thanks again for coming on back, Blue Eyes. You are up. All right, nice, Blue Eyes. Thank you so much again for sending on in your track. Any feedback for Blue Eyes? 47. Go ahead and put that in the chat. What you liked, what you think could be improved about the song. So I love the chord progression that you had. Really loved it. Gave that really Dead Mousey type vibe, progressive house vibe. Definitely emotional. Felt like it was progressing and definitely carried the track, that progression. I also love the synths that you used for that progression, specifically in the beginning of the song. Those worked really well and really gave an atmosphere of just a lush synth that plays a very progressive style chord progression. So let's see, feedback. Connor's watching you, says the synths could use some jazzing up, distortion, compression, etc. Definitely agree here. Connor's watching you. Definitely agree. So as far as the synths that you have, they definitely could use that interest, that bigger impact in the mix. It definitely needs more power. It definitely needs more power. And as you mentioned before we started this track, Connor's watching you, gain staging. Gain staging is incredibly important for this song. Let me go ahead and put a tutorial for gain staging in here for you, Blue Eyes. Definitely watch the tutorial as it gives you suggestions on where you could put the specific elements in your track dB-wise. So it'll say for specific elements like a kick, -6, -8, snare, -6, -8, drum group like -12. It'll give you just estimates of where you could put the specific elements in your mix so they come through a bit better. That was a big problem in this track, is you could not hear the specific elements as impactfully as they need to be for this type of track or for any really electronic track. So having those elements in your mix be at the right volume levels will help your ideas translate a lot better to your audience. So that could be something that you want to check out and improve on, and that will definitely improve the track right off the bat, just changing the volume levels. It'll sound like a completely new track if you gain stage this track properly. Yeah, over the top compression can definitely help. Definitely help. I would worry about the gain staging first. It can be too easy to just get caught away with the over the top compression. Thank you so much for hosting, Pac-Man. Do appreciate it. Thank you. Hopefully we can get a few more viewers in here from that host. That way we can do the free giveaway at 47 current viewers. Again, Orchestral Brass Companion. We're giving away $59 value, yours for free, once we hit 47 current viewers. Yeah, just overall mixing needs to be done. So the idea, definitely keep on with the ideas. Definitely works well. I would say the drop, though, overall the track could be shorter. 7 minutes is pretty long for this type of track. And the ideas that you had in your track could have been told in a shorter amount of time. And it felt like the track was dragging on a little bit, specifically in the drop section, where you kind of just repeated the same thing, and there was no real change in it. Also, the second drop that you had here was identical to the first one. You need to have something that's different. Having the same exact drop is just... It's a little bit lazy. I was going to say, it's lazy. You need to come up with variation to the second drop. That's important. If you listen to a lot of your favorite songs, their second drops always have some sort of difference in them, whether it be changing in specific patterns of elements, whether it be new sounds. There's something noticeable to the listener to signify that this is the last drop in the song. What else? Let's see. It's variation in the drop, shorter, gain staging, jazzing up the synths, and just overall... Okay, so let's talk about that. Jazzing up the synths. So you do your gain staging, right? You can also do layering. I think layering is what is really needed for this track. Layering your synths, that'll add that complexity. That will work. That'll add the complexity. It will add depth to the track, and it'll really add that professional polish to the song. Some of the synths, specifically in the drop, that saw synth, it just sounds like a preset. Layering that up with something a little more complex, to add that more depth, to add different timbral excitement to your track will definitely help your idea come through. Again, the idea is definitely there. Love the progression. Just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, worked with a little bit, added more variation, and mixing, and you are definitely on your way there, Blue Eyes 47. So hopefully that feedback helps. Hopefully you're able to improve your track, and I'd love to hear this in future live streams, Blue Eyes. Again, every Friday we run the live stream. 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you again, Blue Eyes. And we will go ahead and move on up the ladder here. Mini Mailer is up next. Nice, Mini Mailer. Loving your funky tunes. Always bringing that soulful, funky guitar, funky bass line, track, remix. So your feedback for Mini Crew, go ahead and put that in the chat. What you liked, what you think could be improved about the song. And let's get a music production discussion started around this thing and all things music production related. Again, any questions that you have for Mini Mailer or any of the artists' tracks that we're going over, any of the artists that have their track playing, feel free to ask them questions as well, as I'm sure they would be happy to answer. So, again, always love the vibe you have going. Good length for the track, 318. I thought you told the, everything that you wanted to say definitely came through in that 318. I would say really the mix could be improved a bit here. I think some of the instruments, I think just needed more space in the mix, and they could have been more powerful. And I think this really comes down to just EQing, really, as well as a little gain staging. Really, it's such a fine balance. It's hard to get a balance of EQing and gain staging. I mean, that's really the foundation for a good mix. So, okay, let's just go into full screen mode here. So this isn't necessarily to say that your track doesn't have these things MIDI crew. This is just a generalization that I'm making that I've noticed in some people's tracks before. So if you have elements in a mix that are playing in the specific frequency ranges that work well for the particular genre that you're working in, and they're gain staged properly, meaning the volumes of those elements and the groups of these elements are playing in an impactful way, are set at an impactful way, then your track is already going to kind of sound a little bit mixed and a bit full already without doing any compression or EQing. Just by having elements arranged out nicely for the specific genre that you're working in and having them gain stage, it's already going to sound kind of mixed. That should be the aim when you're working on your tracks. Your tracks should sound okay before you even start the mixing process. I know gain staging is kind of starting the mixing process, but I recommend that you guys all gain stage to some degree when you're working on your track, because the gain staging, that really changes your perception of the track that you're working on and can affect creative decisions more so than like an EQing decision, in my opinion. EQing, drastic EQing could definitely change the perception as well, but then you really start getting into the mixing. And I just think gain staging is really one of the mixing things that you need to have when being in the creative process. One, it shouldn't take too much time. The more experience you get with gain staging, it shouldn't take a lot of time to gain stage the individual elements in your track. Specifically, when you're adding them in one by one. It's not like you have all your elements ready to go and are arranged out, and then you have to gain stage all of them. It's just individual, each one to take a minute to gain stage. So again, that's why I don't like doing a whole mixing process when I'm in the creative process, because it takes too long. Gain staging is very short, and it will give you a better perception of how the finished product will sound. So that's why I recommend doing it while you are in the creative process. So then you get into the EQing. The EQing is really going to define the impact that your instruments have as far as the clarity that they're going to have and the separation that they have from the other elements. And in your tracks here, Mini Mailer, I feel like some of them lose some separation. The separation is created from gain staging and EQing. And most of the time in producers' tracks, it's from the EQing. There's only so many frequencies in a specific frequency range that a mix can handle to where it's clear and impactful. Again, you can only have so many frequencies in a specific frequency range where it's clear and impactful. Okay, so I was going to go down a whole like tutorial on how to EQ, but I already have a tutorial out on how to EQ a Money Mix. I know I've sent this in to you before here, Mini Mailer, but EQing a Money Mix, the mix isn't necessarily, it's not incredibly muddy, your mix, but it just needs more separation in your elements. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat here. Let's see. So yeah, more separation with your elements. I hear this a lot in people's tracks that they send into this live stream. They need more separation. So I guess I'll talk about separation real quick. So it's part of the EQ, how to EQ a Money Mix tutorial that I just put in the chat there, that YouTube tutorial. But when you want to create more separation in your elements, my recommendation would be to boost and cut different elements. So what do I mean by that? If I want to hear lead vocal more in the mix, lead vocal is the main event of the track and is what you want the listener to hear most of. And I have a synth that is occupying the vocal frequency range as well. I will do some cutting in the synth and then do some boosting in the same exact frequency range that I cut away in the synth. So I'm cutting away frequencies from the synth and adding frequencies to the vocal. So it's creating a separation there. Instead of just boosting the vocals, right? There's still only that much separation. If I boost the vocals and cut the synth, then there's more separation here. Hopefully that was a good visual way of explaining that. So that's how really how you'd create separation in a mix. Boosting and subtracting. Of course, there is a fine line. Sometimes you won't want to cut too much away from the other instruments. You don't want to boost too much. Sometimes you only want to cut away a little. Sometimes you want to boost a lot. Sometimes you only want to boost a little. Sometimes you want to cut away a lot. It really depends on your specific track. So there's no real one way to do it. It's really, again, track by track dependent. That's why mixing is so difficult, because it really depends on your specific track. There is no hard and fast rules. They're just techniques that can be applied and manipulated throughout your track to create a more professional sounding and more fuller frequency and separated mix. So hopefully that feedback helped there. And hopefully that tutorial helps you out there. And hopefully that made sense to everyone. If not, feel free to let me know in the chat, and I can maybe help explain that a bit better here. Correct, Pac-Man, as well as boosting the vocal in the same spot that you cut the synth. So not just cutting the synth, boosting the vocal as well. What is up, Devlin Sound? Thanks for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be right back. Okay, we'll see you in a minute then, Devlin Sound. Then using mid-side EQ, then a stereo imager, then a headache, then a coffee, then cry. There's just pan left 30%. Definitely. Mid-side EQing, that's another beast. That is definitely another way you can create separation in your mix. We won't go into that, I guess, just yet. Although I will drop another tutorial for you that I have on mid-side EQing and how you can use mid-side EQing to create a professional sounding mix, as well as I go over what a mid-side EQ really is. Go ahead and check that out. I'm just full of tutorials today. Really important that you guys understand the fundamentals of these tools, guys, as this is really what's going to help build the foundation for your track. Really all your tracks. The fundamentals are important. So definitely check out that mid-side EQ as well, EQ tutorial as well. There you go, the tutorial master. I really need to make more tutorials. You know, I have not had time in the past few months. I have just a huge list of tutorials that I want to go over, and just, yeah, they're just becoming valuable. I just save them up, and then every time someone has a question about something, I can just point them to this tutorial where it's all thought out. I spend a lot of time arranging out the tutorial, making sure I not only give information about the specific plugin or the specific topic, but how it can be applied to your specific song, because that's really important. I mean, there are so many tutorials out there that go over a compressor, right? You can just find so many easily that go over specific tools of a compressor. But no tutorials, or very few tutorials, go over specifically how you could use a compressor in different situations that can be applied to your specific track. And that's kind of what I try and do in my tutorials, is give you techniques, not only the information on the tool and how to use it, not only information on the tool, but how to specifically use it in your track. Just listening to other songs and referencing helps too when you need to work out a good EQ start point. Absolutely. Referencing other tracks is incredibly helpful when looking to find kind of a reference point for how you should EQ your elements. I absolutely recommend that. I use reference tracks all the time. I map out reference tracks. I put on multi-band compressors, and I solo each frequency range, and I listen to how all the elements interact with each other in specific soloed frequency ranges as a whole. Really just using a reference track and completely dissecting it is beneficial, so definitely would help if you guys use reference tracks. Definitely something to consider. Especially if you don't think your mixing is up to professional standards yet, definitely use a reference track. You know, once you start to become proficient in mixing, then you can you already have this idea in your head of how specific things should sound, and you can go off that because you have the experience, you've done it. But if you're still, trying to, find the professional sounding mix, then using reference tracks is definitely helpful. Okay. Yeah, it definitely. I wouldn't say you need to stop having them because there's always different mixing styles even within specific genres. It's just you can create a professional sounding mix where it's going to sound professional. After you have a lot of experience. It's always a good idea to just try out different styles and to see how they sound and to maybe add some even just a small mixing tip from a different mixed style track to your repertoire. So just kind of always experimenting. All right. So thank you again, Mini Mailer. Moving on up here, Nathan, you are up. Let's do it, Pac-Man. Thank you so much, Pac-Man, for sending on in the tune. For the second time. Version 12. Man, a lot of versions got going on there. Slight feedback for Nathan, for Pac-Man. Go ahead and put that in the chat. What you'd like to think could be improved about the song. Connor's watching you. Says, I like the sound palette here, and the sounds used a lot. Kind of got pendulum vibes. Yes, it does. Absolutely does. Connor's watching you also says the snare could use some high-end tweaks and reverb. It's too dry in my opinion. So we'll start with the drums here. I definitely think the drums could be improved. I think just you have ambient sounds. You have the vocals that are lush and deep in the mix. You have the guitars that are also, have some reverb on them. So maybe a little delay on them. And just the depth that you have with the drums doesn't quite match up with the rest of the elements in the song. So so I think some reverb, a little deeper or a little stronger reverb on the drums could help to really give them, that more lush and more pushback vibe, I guess, a little bit. Try that on the drum kit, see how that sounds. I'd recommend putting on an EQ on the reverb just so it doesn't get a little too muddy. Maybe cut out some mid frequencies, and cut off the low frequencies, maybe at around 100 hertz, again, so it doesn't get a little muddy there. That could just help it fit in with the other elements you have in the mix. What else here? The guitar. Some of the guitars here, some of the guitars sound a little bit strained. It sounded like biting frequencies in the mix a bit. I'm not sure what type of distortion you have, what type of EQing you have on it. It just sounds a little harsh. I think maybe some multi-band compression to tone it down a little bit could help. It just sounded a little straining on the ears a bit. And I wouldn't say reduce the distortion. I just think maybe some multi-band compression could help. Definitely use some pan reverbs. That could definitely help out. Definitely something to experiment with. What else here? And at one point I felt like the vocals felt off beat. So right here, they felt off beat. I would go back into the vocals and try and get them more in time with the BPM of your track, more locked into the groove. I think that would work a bit better, as it does get a little confusing there. But other than that, I think, you mentioned that the mix sounds a little bit muddy. Man, it's hard for me to say what else could be improved. I think you're missing some mid-range in this track also. I think you're missing some of the 200 to 500 hertz range. That feels a little thin. And I could fill out the mix. But as far as it being muddy, the guitars were a little bit biting, as I said. The drums could fit in a little bit better. That'll definitely help the mix, those two things as well. Adding in a little more mid-range. I think the guitars could have been a little bit louder and also stereo spread a little bit. That could help fill out the mid-range. The guitars definitely fill out that 200 to 500 hertz range. What else? Maybe not reducing some of the reverb, maybe having a sidechain compressor on the vocals. So on the vocals, reverb and delay, I think could help. That way when the vocal plays, the reverb and delay is ducked down a bit, and then when it stops playing, the reverb and delay comes back stronger, so it doesn't quite interfere with the vocal, gives it a little more three-dimension, doesn't muddy up the mix as much. Again, adding a lot of reverbs and delays could, it definitely could cause muddiness that could be hard to deal with. I definitely think the drums need to fit in a bit better. I think reverb could be the way to do that. Just be careful with some of the reverbs and delays. Maybe try some, again, side chaining to those vocals to clean them up a bit. And I think that could definitely help out this track here. So thank you again, Pac-Man at 97. Do they sound rushed or too late? I don't. I think they're a little too late. Yeah, a little too late. But yeah, definitely some small little tweaks there that could definitely help the overall mix and overall impact of your track there. Devlin Sound, are we back? Are we back? Let me know when we can go over your track. Devlin Sound, are we in here? Are we in here? We in here. We in here. We in here. So again, I apologize for not being in the Facebook group as much over the past few months. I have been a bit busy, but I will be trying to get back into the Facebook group, get more discussions started. I appreciate all of you being in the Facebook group. All, your commenting, posting, all of that has helped tremendously. Like I said, I'm going to be back in the group, mixing it up, putting more posts in there, getting more discussions started. I used to have, posts every day. Unfortunately, I have not been able to do posts every day, but hopefully in the near future, I will have time to do that, and we'll get, more life back in, to the Facebook group again. But, any help that you guys provide by posting, whether it's just, fixing something in your mix, it doesn't have to be, just to help out the group. It can just be any questions that you have. People are always willing to help out in the group, so feel free to use the group to help you out in your productions. Any questions you have, anything really music production related would really help. Let's say you find a good deal on a plugin, go ahead and post that in the group. Let's say you just found a cool technique, go ahead and post that in the group. Record a short video of yourself using that technique. I'm sure someone else would find that helpful, as well as, again, any questions that you have, sound recreations or anything like that, go ahead and put that in the group, and let's help, get that community mentality back up in the group a bit more. I've noticed not as many posts have been going in the group as of late, and again, that's partly because I have not been in the group as much as I should have, and again, I will be getting back in the group and getting back into the swing of things. And any communication that we have in the group is definitely appreciated. All right, sweet. Devlin Sound, you are back. You are back. And thank you for the kind words there, Devlin Sound. All right, let's do it. Nice. Also have the reference track you see there. I also forgot to mention, I totally forgot about this. With the last stream, I mentioned, reference tracks. Having a reference track to show along with your track for me to listen to as well could also be incredibly helpful, because I have my own idea of what I think things should sound like, and for certain genres I definitely have a more trained ear for what things should sound like and what I think sounds good, but that doesn't always mean that's what you're going for. That's not what the specific style calls for, or what, just specifically what you're going for and what idea you're trying to execute. So having a reference for me to listen to and see what you're kind of doing and see, okay, I understand how you're trying to mix this track. This is working. This is not for your track. This is working, but it just needs to be adjusted in this way to make it more impactful or whatever, and it helps out me out a lot as well. So definitely from now on, I know I said this last time, but throw on in a reference track as well. So you have your song, any song that you think sounds similar to your specific track. Thank you so much for the follow there. Colisma, thank you, do appreciate it. And again, if you want to get your track heard, send it on over to Daniel@SoundShockAudio.com for a chance to get it on this live stream. But reference tracks, again, very helpful. You know, I'll probably listen to the track, and I'll probably listen to your track first, and then listen to the reference track. That way, I don't get influenced by the outside decision first. That way, I can form my opinion of your track first, and then get outside reference. Again, because then I'll start to, think about your song differently. I think, always your first instinct on how a song sounds is definitely, the most important. Your initial reaction to a song is the most important, I believe. So, again, reference tracks, we're going to start doing that. I'll remind you guys, or I'll ask you guys in the stream, when you guys send in your track next week, to send it on in a reference track too, and we'll quickly go over the reference track again. This will help me understand where you're coming from and where you're trying to go with this song. All right, Devlin Sound, let's do it. Okay, well, yeah, we'll go over your reference track real quick here as well. I've already got written down the feedback for your track. Which track is the reference track? Which one is the reference track? Yeah, it definitely has that lo-fi feel to it. I'm Offbeat Ninja. I do beats, anime, and pizza. That is my life. Beats, anime, pizza. Beats, anime, pizza. Yeah, which one, Devlin Sound? Which one? So again, guys, love the feedback for Devlin Sound's track here. Go ahead and put that in the chat. What you liked and what you think can be improved about Devlin Sound's track here. Okay, pick one. We'll pick the first one here. Pick the second one here. Okay, so I definitely know what vibe you're going for in this. So for your track, I'll definitely give the feedback first. So the snare that you have is too dry. It just sounds, it doesn't quite mold with the track. I think some of the elements, overall the track needed to blend together a bit more. More depth, maybe a little delay, compression, maybe a little bit of compression. Again, just to blend the song together a bit better. The parts just seem stagnant in the mix a little bit. More variations. You need more variations for your transitions. It just feels like you have all your blocks of sounds, block here, block there, but they need to transition well into each other. It just sounds like it's just going from one block of sound to another block of sound. Transition effects, drum fills, that sort of thing would really help for this song. The hat is way too loud in the track, way too loud. Especially for hip hop tracks where you have less elements playing than fuller frequencied productions or genres. You don't need to have them that loud for them to be impactful in the mix, and they're definitely dominating the mix too much. What else? And it was a bit muddy. It was a bit muddy in the mix. Okay, you said you haven't mixed it yet. So yeah, just work on the transitions, work on blending the sounds together, work on getting a more lo-fi feel. So distortion, running all your tracks through distortion could really help. A very light distortion, light saturation, just to give a different, more lo-fi vibe to it. I think what is needed. It seems like a lot of these tracks, a lot of the high frequencies are cut out. It goes through some tape saturator, something like that, to give that really lo-fi vibe to it. Experiment with that. See what you can get from running your entire song through these type of tape delays, saturators, distorters, and see if you can get, again, that more lo-fi feel to it. So hopefully that helps here. Hopefully that helps. And thank you so much for sending it on in. You'll appreciate it. All right. Kalizma. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are going over your track.
You're flying high up in the clouds.
Hell yeah, Colisma. Loving it. Very unique. Got that like techno-y, like kind of housey, kind of progressive-y, really blend of a bunch of different genres there. So any feedback for Colisma, go ahead and put that in the chat. What you'd like to be thinking be improved about the song. So again, overall, love the vibe, love the elements that you use, love all the different synths that you had in there, playing all those unique melodies. I thought those fit really well, added to that unique vibe that I was talking about. So a few things really, a few things I want to talk about. I think the kick could be more impactful in the mix. I think it needs to play a bigger role in the track, just as far as, again, the impact that it has. And it could just be louder. I also think maybe a different kick drum could help as well. Something with a little more body, something a little more high end as well. Definitely something worth experimenting with. But overall, I just definitely think you need something that has more power to the kick. Whether that, again, be making it louder in the mix, whether that be changing out the kick sample to, again, to have more high end as well as more body. Just something to, again, add more impact. What else? I think the track could be shortened a bit as well. The end section here, it felt like it dragged on a bit too long. Again, just something a little bit shorter, I think would help. Maybe something in like the 4-minute range. I think that would be ideal for this track. I heard all the ideas. You could definitely tell them in a little bit of a shorter time frame. Also, a little bit muddy with the synths, specifically in the 150 hertz to 500 hertz range. That range gets a little muddy with the synths that you have, and I think just doing some notch EQing in that range would definitely help clear up the mix and make the other elements in your track sound larger as well. So definitely look to EQ those synths, find that mud, and notch EQ it out. Something as small as a decibel to a 2 decibel cut could make a big difference in your track. So solo those elements together, try to do some EQing individually and maybe on the groups of those synth elements, and see if you can clear up that mud a bit and create more impact for those synths as well as the other elements in your track. Also, I would try doing some compressing on those synths as well. They have a lot of arpeggiated sounds that go up and down in volume, and I think just tightening them up a little bit would really help with the song. Compressing, again, those crazy synth melodies that you have, just compress them a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. I just think tightening them up, the volume levels, could be ideal for this track to help with just the overall consistency of the mix, of keeping those instruments having them sit put in the mix. So, again, with the EQing to EQ out the muddy mix, to have them be a little more stable in the mix with the compression, having a stronger kick will definitely help the overall perception of your track by your audience, to have it be more impactful to your audience overall. That really is the idea. Again, shortening it a tiny bit, as I think your ideas could have been told in like a 4-minute time frame. I think that would translate this awesome, unique idea that you have a bit better to your audience. So hopefully that helps, Colisma. Just again, some small things that you could fix here and there that could really help improve the track. Again, overall, killer tune. I hope to see future tunes from you in the future, as this is definitely something we like to hear, unique tunes in the live stream. That way, we can expose not only you to other artists, to your music, but as well as hopefully get again, feedback on your track. So thank you so much again, Colisma. And that's going to do it for this week's live stream, everyone. I want to thank you all for stopping on by. It was awesome hanging out with you this Friday. I do appreciate you guys coming on in. Again, we didn't have quite the audience as we have had in past live streams. Again, I've been very, caught up with other things in my life, but at this time, I'm going to be moving on with SoundShock. I'm going to, the bigger and better things are ahead for SoundShock, and I'm working towards those. So in the near future, I'll be getting back on track with providing you guys with more content, being more interactive with you guys in the group and with the community. So I want to thank you all again for being longtime viewers. We've got Nathan, C-Ray Beats, Devlin Sound. All you guys have been around for the SoundShockAudio community for a long time, so I really do appreciate it. And again, thank you everyone for joining. Cache Bear, Colisma, good to see you in here for the first time with your awesome song. Commander Root, Commanders watching you. Thank you as always for the awesome feedback that you give of everyone's track. Really helps out a lot. DJ Tim in 2006, do appreciate it, man. Slow Cool, V&K, Virgo Pros. You guys are awesome. Thanks again for joining. And again, we're going to be running the live stream every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. GMT time. Again, always seems to fluctuate. That's another thing that has not been good for the amount of viewers that we have had. It's just the time has always been changing. Some Fridays I couldn't do it. It changes from 12 to 1 to 2 o'clock to 1:30. So I guess I'll say in the 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 1:30 range, Pacific Standard Time. So the 7 p.m. To 8:30 p.m. GMT time. That's when the live stream will be on Fridays. We're still keeping it on Fridays, so that's the day, afternoon. That way, like I said, I always say 12 p.m., but it seems like I have not been able to stream at 12 p.m. In the last few months. So again, between that 12 and 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, 7 to 8:30 p.m. GMT time. And again, guys, check back at the SoundShockAudio website, as there always are a ton of free downloads that I add to the website. It's a very deep library. On the surface, it doesn't look like there's that many free downloads on this site. It kind of looks like has some content on the site. But trust me, this site runs deep. There are a ton of free downloads. Just head on over to the main header and check out all the categories of free downloads that you can get. And there are a ton of free downloads in each section. It is the largest collection of free music production content on the web right now. No other site has this amount of content, so definitely check it out. Time. I feel it, man. Yeah, to really build a consistent stream audience, the time needs to definitely be set, and I will be looking to have a steadier time in the future. But again, I've been quite busy, so I have not had the stable time that I would have liked. So again, I do apologize for that, but hopefully we'll be getting things back on track a bit in the future. And again, any questions for me, any questions about SoundShock Audio, any music production questions that you guys have, feel free to send me an email at daniel@soundshockaaudio.com or any of the SoundShock social media, and I'd be happy to answer and talk with you guys. That's, again, the reason why I built SoundShock Audio was to have the community be involved. So any communication with other SoundShock members, with me, with a group of members, with me and a group of members is highly encouraged from you guys. So thank you all again for joining. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you have an awesome rest of your week. And I'll see you next time.